the Lord. And now here are the people of Ammon, Moab, Mount Seir, whom you would not let Israel invade when they came out of the land of Egypt, but they turned from them and did not destroy them. Here they are rewarding us by coming to throw us out of your possession, which you have given us to inherit. Our God, will you not judge them? For we have no power against this great multitude that is coming against us, nor do we know what to do, but our eyes are upon you. Let me read verse 12 again. O our God, will you not judge them? For we have no power against this great multitude that is coming against us, nor do we know what to do, but our eyes are upon you. Knowledge inspires confidence. If I choose to swim in one of those crocodile-infested rivers in any part of Africa, I will only do so on the basis that I know it is very safe to jump into the water, and that I also have the ability to make it safely to shore. Anything less than knowing these two factors would work in my favor will deter me from attempting to dive into the waters. So it is when we are seeking help from God. What we know about God will inspire us to call upon him in times of need and also in times of trouble. So then, what must we know about God that will inspire us to put our trust in him? Here are some imperatives. Imperative number one, he is the supreme ruler of the universe. We are told that Jehoshaphat stood in the assembly of Judah in the house of the Lord and said, O Lord God of our fathers, in the house, O Lord God of our fathers, are you not God in heaven, and do you not rule over all the kingdoms of the nations? And in your hand is there not power and might, so that no one is able to withstand you? That is according to verse 6. Here we observe that as Jehoshaphat sought the help of God, he took into consideration the supreme reign of God over all the nations of the world, and that his power transcends all powers of the universe. Put in a nutshell, what Jehoshaphat did was to focus on the fact that the God he served and the God that his God's people serve is able to deliver them out of any situation. And the rationale behind that is because he understood and he believed with all his heart that with God, all things are possible. The second imperative I want to draw to your attention this afternoon in terms of knowledge inspires confidence is the fact that we must know or remember what God has done for us in the past. King Jehoshaphat also reflected on the past interventions and performances of God on behalf of his people, how he drove out the inhabitants of the nations around them and gave their lands to Israel as an inheritance. The fact that God helped his people in the past inspired Jehoshaphat to seek God's help to defeat their enemies. That's according to verse 8. Thus, it is very important that we draw from our past experiences with God so as to inspire faith in his power to intervene on our behalf. And let me just give you a short illustration. We think about David. When David faced Goliath, he did it against the backdrop that there was a lot of misgivings by his brothers, by his peers, by even King Saul about his ability to stand up and fight against Goliath and defeat him. But David did something that all of us must do in terms of remembering the past acts of God on our behalf. David said, I was attending to my sheep, and a bear came to take away my shield, and I wrestled the bear, and the Lord delivered the bear into my hands. And he also said that on another another occasion, a lion came to take one of my sheep, and I wrestled the lion, and the Lord delivered the lion into my hand. And he said, well, just as how God delivered him out of the paws of the lion and out of the paws of the bear, he is able to deliver Israel out of the hands of Goliath. And so he was able to because of that, he was inspired single-handedly to confront Goliath. And as we all know, he defeated Goliath because he took into consideration and he also drew from his past experiences with God. And in order for us to have the incentive to go before God and to seek his face, we must also be able to reflect on his past performances in our lives. And the third point is that we must also know God's promises. Here, the king reminded God of a covenant that was established between him and his people, that if disaster comes, whether by sword, judgment, pestilences, or famine, if they stand before him in the temple and in the presence and cry out to him in their affliction, that God will hear and save them. Now, one of the things we need to note here is that Jehoshaphat was aware of the fact that as a people of God, bad things will happen. He was aware of the fact that as a people of God, they would go through times of affliction, suffering, and pain. But notwithstanding all of that, he was also aware of the fact that God had promised that even though we are afflicted, he will deliver us out of our affliction. The Bible tells us in Psalm chapter 19 that many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord will deliver them out of them all. As Abraham waited another year for the promise of Isaac to materialize, we are told that he staggered not at the promise of God through unbelief, but was strong in faith, knowing what God had promised, he was also able to perform. In conclusion, when we know all these three things about God, whose help we seek, it will give us the confidence needed to believe that he will act on our behalf. Without knowing who God is, without knowing what he has done in the past, and without knowing what he has promised, we will be left fearful, dismayed, and hopeless. Just the confidence we gain from knowing our God by remembering all he has done and believing his promises, we would be inspired to trust him with great expectation that he will come true for us. Finally, when we are confident that God will work on our behalf, we would worship him in anticipation of his breakthrough. May God bless his word to our hearts this afternoon as we continue in his presence.